All right, let's get right into it. Welcome to this explainer where we are taking a really structured, step-by-step approach to mastering mountain survival and managing some of the most intense physical challenges the trail can throw at you. I am super excited to guide you through this today because we're focusing heavily on risk mitigation. We're talking about those smart, proactive strategies that actually keep you alive when you're miles away from the nearest town. From the very ground floor of the trail all the way up to the highest peaks, we are going to look at exactly what to do when things go wrong. It's a pretty serious question, right? Picture this. You're miles from civilization and suddenly your own body starts turning against you. Would you know what to do? When we step out into the wilderness, we usually obsess over external threats. Bears, freak storms, getting hopelessly lost. But the sources actually show us that some of the most trip-ending and frankly life-threatening dangers come from how our own bodies react to the physical environment. Whether it's your skin literally breaking down, hypothermia from a botched river crossing, or your lungs and brain failing at high altitude, you absolutely have to be prepared to push your limits safely.
So here is our roadmap for today's ascent. First up, defeating foot friction. Second, crossing fast-moving water. Third, high-altitude emergencies. And finally, essential wilderness gear. Let's hit the trail.
Section 1. Defeating foot friction. Okay, starting right at the ground level, we need to tackle every hiker's worst nightmare, the dreaded foot blister. Now, most people think they know exactly how blisters work, but it's time to bust a massive myth. Blisters are rarely caused by your boot repetitively rubbing on the outside of your skin. Nope, they're actually caused by something called shear deformation. Sounds fancy, right? But basically, every single time you take a step, the bones inside your foot move back and forth. This actually stretches and distorts your skin from the inside out. When this internal stretching, or shear, gets excessive on a multi-day hike, a tiny micro tear happens right under the surface of the skin. Fluid slowly fills that damaged spot, and boom, within a couple of hours, you've got a blister. Because of this whole shear thing, we really have to rethink what tough feet means. Hikers always brag about their calluses, thinking it's like this built-in armor against blisters. Honestly, it's the exact opposite. Because blisters aren't just a surface-level wear and tear injury, calluses don't protect you at all. In fact, a callus and a blister are caused by the exact same thing, repetitive shear. A callus just means the skin had time to slowly adapt to that friction. A blister happens when the shear is sudden and acute. So anywhere you have a callus, you shouldn't feel safe. You should actually expect a blister to pop up right under it the minute you hike harder than usual. This totally flips how we should treat blisters on the trail. Basic first aid, just slapping on some antiseptic and a regular old bandage is simply not going to cut it. Sure, a standard bandage might stop the damaged skin from rubbing against your sock, but it does absolutely zero to stop those internal shear forces. Meaningful treatment means actively stopping that shear so you can actually keep walking without being in total agony. You've got to address the mechanical forces, maybe by using specific low-friction patches inside your shoe or gel toe protectors that absorb all that shear so your poor skin doesn't have to. Moving up the trail to Section 2, crossing fast-moving water. All right, as we gain some elevation, we run into one of the absolute leading causes of hiker fatalities, river crossings. A totally calm creek can turn into a deadly, raging force after heavy rains or spring snowmelt. Before you even think about stepping foot in that water, you have to run through a quick visual assessment. Let's walk through these steps because they're absolutely crucial. Step 1, check the speed. Chuck a decent-sized stick into the water. If you can walk briskly along the bank and keep up with it, you're probably okay. If it rockets out of sight instantly, no way, do not cross. Step 2, check the depth using your trekking poles. You want to avoid anything fast-flowing that goes above your mid-thigh. And finally, step 3, check the bottom. Small ripples usually mean a nice, shallow, evenly rocky bottom. But if you see large waves that seem to just stand up stationary out of the water, that's a huge red flag indicating massive boulders or incredibly uneven, dangerous ground underneath. Now, if you do the math and decide it's safe to cross, I need you to follow 2 rules. They might seem completely counterintuitive, but they will absolutely save your life. Keep your shoes on and unclip your backpack straps. I see so many hikers take their shoes off because they want to keep them dry. Never, ever do this. You desperately need the traction, and you need protection from razor-sharp rocks. And your backpack, unclip that hip belt and the sternum strap immediately. If you slip and fall in, a heavy pack turns into an anchor. It will drag you under and make swimming literally impossible. You have to be able to wriggle out of it instantly. Trust me, your life is infinitely more valuable than your fancy ultralight gear. And hey, if you are crossing as a group, rely on what's called the string of pearls formation. You want to band together downwards, not sideward. Link your arms or your shoulders and walk diagonally downstream, facing right into the current. You always want to put your strongest, heaviest hiker upstream. They'll break the brunt of the water's force and actually create a little pocket of calmer water, an eddy, for the hikers behind them. The more of you link together in that line, the stronger your collective anchor against the current. Section 3. High-altitude emergencies. Okay, let's keep ascending. We are now moving into truly extreme environments, where the very air we breathe becomes a major physical threat. And the crazy thing is, the effects of altitude can start way lower than most people realize. Acute mountain sickness, or AMS, can kick in at just 2,000 meters. That's about 6,600 feet, literally the elevation of a ton of popular mountain ski resorts. It shows up as nasty headaches, severe fatigue, stomach issues, and really messed up sleep. If you climb too fast without letting your body acclimatize, you'll start feeling this. And if you just try to push through and ignore it, it can rapidly progress into something fatal.
And then we reach this terrifying number, 8,000 meters. In the mountaineering world, anything above 8,000 meters is famously known as the death zone. Up here, standard physiological rules just straight up stop applying. The human body physically cannot acclimatize in the death zone. You are literally burning through your own store of oxygen faster than your body can replenish it. If you hang out in this zone too long without bottled oxygen, it leads straight to the complete deterioration of your bodily functions, loss of consciousness, and death.
Let's look at exactly why that physiological failure happens. There's this super common misconception that there is just less oxygen up high. Actually, the percentage of oxygen in the atmosphere stays pretty much constant at about 21%, whether you are hanging out at sea level or flying up in the stratosphere. What actually changes is the available oxygen pressure. At sea level, that pressure is roughly 21.2 kilopascals, but up at Everest Base Camp, it's literally sliced in half. And at the summit, it plummets to just 7.0. There simply isn't enough atmospheric pressure to physically force that 21% oxygen into your red blood cells. When your body gets starved of that oxygen pressure, extreme edema can kick in. Edema is basically massive fluid accumulation. The two life-threatening conditions you really have to watch for are HAPE and HACE. HAPE is high-altitude pulmonary edema. That means fluid filling up your lungs. You'll see extreme exhaustion, gasping for air even when just sitting there, and a dry cough that eventually turns into this pink, frothy sputum. Then there is HACE, which is high-altitude cerebral edema. This is incredibly scary. It's fluid swelling inside the actual brain. A person with HACE will look almost drunk. They'll lose their coordination, stumble around, get severely confused, and might even experience paralysis. Both of these are incredibly lethal. Now, I want to make this abundantly clear. You might have temporary fixes with you. Maybe you have supplemental oxygen, or maybe you have a steroid like dexamethasone, which can reduce brain swelling just enough to get someone on their feet. But the absolutely only reliable, definitive treatment for severe AMS, HAC, or HAPE is immediate descent, period. You must get that patient down the mountain to a lower altitude with higher barometric pressure right that very second. You cannot just try to wait it out in a tent. Which brings us to Section 4, Essential Wilderness Emergency Gear. To actually survive all these ascending challenges we've talked about, from the invisible friction in your boots to the deadly lack of pressure in the sky, you have to carry the right supplies. But you also have to be smart about your pack weight. Let's map out the absolute must-have medical gear for the specific emergencies we just covered. For that high-friction skin shear, you want Ingo patches. These are amazing low-friction stickers that go on your shoe, not your foot, to completely eliminate that shear. For pinch blisters in your toe box, gel toe caps absorb those shear forces wonderfully. Moving way up in elevation, a medication called acetazolamide, you might know it as Diamox, can be a real lifesaver. You take it preventatively to stimulate deeper breathing and help you acclimatize. And for those truly extreme altitude expeditions, you might bring a Gamel bag. It's a portable, inflatable hyperbaric chamber that essentially simulates a lower altitude. It can stabilize a patient just long enough to get them evacuated. But of course, all this medical gear adds weight, right? And the golden rule of surviving the trail is keeping your pack weight manageable. You don't necessarily need the craziest, most expensive ultralight gear out there. You just need your standard stuff to pull double duty so it offsets the weight of your med kit. Take a simple bandana. That is your sweat wipe, your pot scrubber, and your pre-filter from muddy water all in one. Those heavy nylon stuff sacks? Ditch them. Use ultralight Ziploc bags instead. Your extra pair of hiking socks can totally moonlight as warm mittens on a freezing night. A little bathroom trowel works as a fantastic backup tent stake, and a cheap piece of Tyvek house wrap that makes a perfectly durable, feather-light footprint for the bottom of your tent. Being efficient is a survival skill. And that brings us to one final thought for you to chew on. Do you respect the power of nature enough to know your limits before you even step onto the trail? Look, The wilderness does not care about your itinerary. Whether it's those microscopic shear forces completely destroying your heels, the sheer kinetic energy of a flooded river, or the silent, invisible drop in air pressure up in the death zone, making it out alive is all about preparation. It's about proactive risk mitigation, and honestly, having the wisdom to know exactly when it's time to turn back. Internalize these protocols, respect the wild, and you'll be setting yourself up for a lifetime of incredible ascents. Thanks so much for joining me for this explainer, and hey, stay safe out there.